I'm now going to move on to our final speaker for this afternoon before the panel. So this speech is your last-ditch opportunity to write down any questions before the panel starts. I think virtually all of us who are involved in purchasing rough diamonds, whether it's through DTC or through other sources, will be aware of the increasing role of African DTC organizations. To talk about this theme, I'd like to invite Mr. Tim Dabson, who is Director of Beneficiation at the Diamond Trading Company, the marketing arm of De Beers, to talk about that trend and what it means for the market. Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you.
Honourable Minister, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to address you at this important event. I use the word opportunity advisedly, as I believe that the subject about which I've been asked to speak is really about opportunity. This whole section this afternoon on the conference agenda is dedicated to the future of rough diamonds. And my focus is going to be on the role of the DTC entities in Africa, but I would say that there are obviously parallels with the DTC rough that comes from our De Beers Canada production as well. Okay, so to put the question of downstream distribution into context, we must first look at the very start of the diamond pipeline and consider diamond production trends. We've heard quite a lot this afternoon from all my illustrious colleagues that have gone before me about how production is likely to be flat at best. This is obviously a major force among several which affect rough supply and therefore a natural place to start in my talk. It's been well documented, we've heard this several times, that absent a new major discovery of a kimberlite, something akin to perhaps Zhuaneng in Botswana, for example, rough diamond projections are, I think, flat at best, possibly even decreasing over the years and decades. This obviously brings the question of access to rough into stark relief. For all the players within the diamond supply chain, with less rough available, competition will obviously increase for supply. Meanwhile, we need to be cognizant of another key force impacting rough supplies in today's world, and that is, of course, of the beneficiation objectives of diamond-producing countries. Quite rightly, diamond-producing countries view their natural resources as a vital national asset, and the minister who went first this afternoon spoke very passionately about that. These resources bring real value to the nation at large if used responsibly. This is essentially true of Botswana, where diamonds are far away, as we've heard, the main contributor to the country's economy, and where so much government revenue is derived. The objectives and influences of diamond-producing governments is certainly, therefore, a central aspect with this discussion, and one which I will return to shortly. The desire of producing country governments to generate increased benefits from mineral resources is supported by another emerging force affecting rough supply, and that is of changing consumer expectations. The phrase ethical consumerism is well known and widely used in today's world, and there is an increasing expectation from consumers that the products that they purchase help to aid sustainable development in the countries where they are found. The oft-cited resource curse has seen several mineral-rich nations derive little sustained benefit from the assets hidden below the earth. And there is a growing demand from consumers to know that they are buying responsibly and in a way that aids economic and social development. Although this force may not be yet as influential as the previous ones mentioned, in determining these rough supply dynamics, it is still a contributing factor, and one that will, in all likelihood, only increase as time passes. These forces, along with several others, such as the development of diamond technology and the influence this has on the pace of skills transfer, changing labor costs in different countries, financing considerations that we heard about this morning, and globalization, mean that the rough supply equation has become substantially more complex. Access to rough is no longer simply a question of the price paid for goods. New ways have to be found involving progressive approaches within the regulatory frameworks with which we all work. But it's important to note that it is not particularly a new situation. At De Beers, we've been analyzing the changing environment in which we operate, and we established the DTC entities in Namibia, South Africa, and Botswana some 5 years ago. We saw the opportunity in these changing dynamics to extend our partnership model in diamond-producing countries in which we work with site holders and the businesses that we supply. Of course, establishing activities downstream of mining in producer countries has a long history for De Beers. The sorting and valuing of diamonds in the production from our Southern African and Namibian mines for more than 30 years has taken place in country. The advent of sales from Southern African operations was a natural extension of this, once the time was right for the activity to be sustainably established, thanks to the advances in technology and the development of the many businesses in the arena there. The creation of successful partnerships, and I note that the word should be used both formally and informally, was the vehicle that we adopted to leverage the forces affecting us to create a new opportunity. In a world of reducing supply and increasing producer country interest in establishing downstream industries and more consumer expectations of businesses driving development, we found an opportunity to maintain supply for De Beers, a steady supply for our site holders, and a new economic and social platform for producing countries. To deliver on this successfully, we needed a tripartite model whereby site holders, De Beers, and governments in producer countries all play a key role in ensuring sustainable operations. The result is a win-win-win, as all involved can satisfy their overarching objectives. There are now nearly 40 site holders operating in Southern Africa and receiving supply from DTC African offices. And each of these three parties has its role well defined. The manufacturing activity in the region has also proved its sustainability after being subjected to the strongest, most extreme pressure test in the form of the recent economic downturn. I would encourage all of you here to consider how you wish to shape your own futures in the face of these changing dynamics in the diamond industry. I can't tell you what the future will hold regarding distribution dynamics in the years ahead, or how accessing supply in Africa will be part of this, any more than I can tell you what numbers are going to win the lottery on next Friday's Euro Millions draw. The future is very much up for grabs, and the distribution dynamics of our industry will be determined largely by the people in this room and how we can seek out opportunities in a new world in which we find ourselves. We all need to think long and hard about what effects the forces around us will be and whether we can manage our positions to create new opportunities. We need to consider not only the transformation taking place in producer countries and changing consumer expectations, but also, as I've said, technology, emerging market efficiencies, and indeed more besides. Many diamond-producing countries are already undertaking this kind of thinking themselves, as we heard earlier on, and looking where they can take their futures. For example, there is recognition from diamond-producing country governments that not all of their objectives can be met from cutting and polishing, especially given the limits of what is economically viable with the differentials in manufacturing costs in different areas of the globe. Instead, they are looking beyond just cutting and polishing, as we've heard. And in Botswana, for example, as part of the vision, we've recently seen a jewelry manufacturing operation open up in the country as a phase 2, if you like, of the benefication, which extended the benefit of successful manufacturing. Again, sustaining this activity will require appropriate partnerships and an understanding of the different roles played by each party, as will any other downstream activity undertaken in a producing country. But the message is clear. In a period of change, there are opportunities, and it's just a case of seeking them out. At tonight's gala dinner, we'll highlight another example of changing dynamics being turned into opportunity. The changing objectives of producers and the expectation of consumers led some 15 years ago to the identification of an opportunity to harness the skilled design talent that exists in Southern Africa, to partner that with DTC site holders, and to create stunning diamond jewelry pieces from those innovative designs. And by doing so, we can then gain international PR for diamonds as an overall sector and expose the world to what are incredibly talented designers if given the opportunity. I'm sure that after tonight's event, you will see that the fruits of this exciting partnership have all been well worth the time, effort, and thought invested in making the opportunity into a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, John Richardson, a pioneer in the field of system dynamics, once said, "When it comes to the future, there are 3 kinds of people: those that let it happen, those that make it happen, and those that wonder what happened." Let us make sure that we are among the few that make the future happen and take our great industry to even greater heights. So a changing world, but I think a world of opportunity. And just before I close, we'll just go back to those Euro Millions lotteries. And in fact, here is your opportunity to jot down Friday's winning numbers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.